Now that Mr. Sinister has officially lost control of the Quiet Council and is a prisoner in a timeline of his own making, is anyone on any world actually safe anymore? Well, let's hop into the pages of Immoral X-Men issue number 2 and find out together, shall we? So that as we jump into the new issue, we are once again 100 years in the future. The Empire of the Red Diamond continues to tear its way across space, dominating everything in its path. At the vanguard of the mutant war machine is none other than Hope Summers. She's been borrowing Exodus's ability to turn faith into power, and with that, there are very few enemies that can stand against her, not even the Compact. A last-ditch union of some of the most powerful players within the Marvel cosmic scene. You got the Chitauri, the Kree-Skrull Alliance, and after the fact, the Shi'ar. Apparently, they joined the war about 50 years late thanks to Professor Xavier's political maneuvering. The Sinister Mutants have also developed some amazingly deadly new weapons to assist them in their never-ending conquest, mainly the L-bombs. What's an L-bomb? Basically, it's an unstable Chimera mutant with a bunch of gifts that makes it incredibly explosive and volatile. They keep them in stasis until they're ready to literally shoot them at a planet and then watch the fireworks. And if you think that's horrifying and completely repugnant, well, guess what? You ain't seen nothing yet. Apparently, in this 100-year future, the mutants of Krakoa have actually moved far away from the need of the Five and the Resurrection protocols. Now they actually have real-deal cloning pits like the ones that were actually referenced all the way back in Hawks and Pox. Hell, Hope can basically run the entire operation herself, well, the bits of her body that have fallen off over the years. Do all the hard work while she's opted to upgrade with cybernetics. Why is that the case? Well, as Mr. Sinister puts it, apparently her strain of mutant genes just doesn't clone well, meaning that Hope has essentially outlived her father and a lot of the other prominent mutants from back in the Island era. Now, this is the Sins of Sinister, so what exactly has Mr. Sinister been up to ever since he saved his own skin 100 years ago by promising brand new, more powerful Chimera mutant weapons? Well, today Nathaniel unveils his greatest creation to date, Rasputin IV, who should actually seem familiar if you've been paying attention to this era of X-Men stories. We had actually seen a picture of Rasputin IV at the end of the previous issue, but before that we actually saw her back in Hawks and Pox when they first introduced the very concept of Chimera mutants. Rasputin IV truly is Mr. Sinister's greatest creation, being able to bring together 4 completely different mutant powers. She has the strength of Colossus, the intangibility of Shadowcat, the ferocity of Laura Kenny Wolverine, as well as the mental abilities of Quentin Quire. They wanted to use Jean Grey's psychic abilities, but apparently they're very hard to work with too for some reason. The plan is for Rasputin IV to captain the brand new and improved Marauder ship, basically an envoy of the mutants that will go to different worlds, and decide whether or not they're worth conquering or just destroying outright. What a fun job. Here's the thing though, apparently Sinister actually designed Rasputin IV to truly believe in the old world ideals of heroism. Mainly because, well, the Quiet Council doesn't want the captain of their newest ship to get any bright ideas and stab them in the back. After all, they're all Sinisters, and stabbing each other in the back is just kind of second nature at this point. It's like breathing or blinking, you do it without even thinking. Of course, there's also one big problem with the creation of Rasputin IV, and that is with her, Sinister admits that he has reached the absolute zenith of his scientific abilities. There will be no 6-powered Chimera mutant after this, which in turn only serves to communicate to the Council of Sinisters that the original recipe Essex has finally exhausted his uses and it's time for him to be retired permanently. This ultimately turns out to be a very, very busy day for Nathaniel as he returns to his quarters. He's actually met there by Mother Righteous. In fact, this is actually the first time ever Mr. Sinister has seen his female clone face to face. Righteous is basically here to get original recipe Sinister up to date on everything that's been happening in the other books, as well as the existence of the other Sinister suits. How when the original human Nathaniel Essex died, he created 4 clones to try and explore all the alternate avenues to defeating the future AI Dominion. Be it through magic, or genetics, or post-humanism, or cosmic means, etc., etc. The only problem with creating a Dominion where Mr. Sinister will be safe from all the horrors that lay in the future is that, well, there's only enough room for one Sinister at the end of that tunnel. Dr. Stasis is dead and Mother Righteous is already making plans to move against Stellaris, but where does that leave Mr. Sinister himself? Well, you know what? I bet you a Coke that you could never guess guess in 100 years what Mr. Sinister's next course of action would actually be. You see, it's after this meeting with Mother Righteous, Mr. Sinister goes to see Rasputin IV, and what he does is actually free her from the Sinister Red Diamond mind control. Why? Well, because Rasputin IV is Mr. Sinister's greatest creation, and he feels a real affinity for her, maybe something even close to love. He confides in her that Krakoa used to be a beautiful place, a mutant paradise that he ruined because of his own evil and ego. He wishes that Rasputin IV could see the Promised Land and says that she is maybe the only person in the entire universe capable of getting back the Moiras and fixing everything that he broke, freeing him from the thrall of the Quiet Council, the monsters that he created, and the actual sins of Sinister themselves. Wow. I mean, there's still like a 60-40% that he's lying because this is Mr. Sinister we're dealing with here, but man, he really does love flipping the script just when we think we have him pegged, right? The funniest part too is that at the end of the day, he wasn't even the first member of the Quiet Council that the others knocked off. That honor actually goes to Hope. You see, her and Exodus were supposed to clear out a bunch of Chitauri pirates, only for Exodus to turn on his messiah, Hope. The idea being that Exodus is something of a religious scholar, and he knows that monotheistic religions do a lot better when their god isn't alive and kicking. The faithful are better motivated when they wait for their god to return, and because Exodus is basically the rock on which Hope built her church, he can move on without her now. Pfft, religion, man, what a trip. As the comic comes to a close, Mr. Sinister and Rasputin IV actually escape on the newly built Marauder in hopes of finding the Moiras wherever they may be hidden. Sinister says that surely this quest won't take them any more than 5 years, which is hilarious because we know the next issue actually takes place 1,000 years in the future. And so that was Immoral X-Men issue number 2, everybody, and once again, I'm really enjoying what's going on here in Sins of Sinister. It feels like all the writers are having an absolute blast imagining the worst case scenario for mutant kind. That on itself would have been fun enough, but then they go the extra mile to actually start including stuff from the early days of Hawks and Pox. I really didn't think the next time we met Rasputin IV would be in this dark timeline, but here it is. Once again, too, this really is the Mr. Sinister show when everyone else is just kind of along for the ride, but man, just when I thought Sinister couldn't surprise me anymore, they actually try and dig a little deeper and find some humanity that might still exist inside Nathaniel Essex. Now, again, this still could all be some sort of trick, but I just kind of love the idea that Sinister could screw himself over so badly by creating monsters that are worse than him, that he eventually has no choice but to try and get a little introspective and actually try and save the world, if only so he doesn't have to live in this prison of his own doing. It just feels kind of fresh and compelling, and I think it's exactly what the series needed at this midway point. Overall, I would give this one another very strong 8 out of 10. Hey there everyone, it's your pal Cape Joel again, and if you're seeing my face right now, that means you watched to the end of the video, and I'll always be grateful for that. Retention helps in this crazy YouTube game, and so does becoming a patron. If you head on down to the description, you can find a link to my Patreon page. Recently just redid all the tiers, a lot of cool stuff offering up there, exclusive commentaries, exclusive polls, behind the scenes concept art for Capes and Quest. That's the brand new D&D show I've started soon. Never been a better time to become a patron. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month and help the channel grow and, help me continue to deliver content like what you just saw. So I want to thank you all, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.